So when you think about what Minecraft is truly about, what do you really think it's about, right? A lot of people have many different, viewpoints about what Minecraft is really about, but when you really dig deeper and look at whatever it's truly focused on more than anything else, it's creativity. Minecraft has always been all about creativity and always has been, always will be. Even though, yes, there has been a shift on what players focus on nowadays, because yes, players do focus on trying to get the all the best items in the game, get full enchanted stuff, netherite, you know, elytras, all that stuff, right? And try to just only focus on the progression than being creative and building stuff. But at its core, Minecraft has always been about creating, building, being creative, right? And it's been like that for many, many years, ever since the start. And I get that a lot of the newer versions have pretty much made people stray away from what Minecraft is truly about, but it always has been like that, even especially since the early days, because like the early days, like in the beta and the alpha versions of the game, people were limited in what blocks they could use, but people still built and created so many things in their worlds. Like if you look at, a lot of videos that people put out there about their, beta worlds in Minecraft, right? There's just so many things they've built. A lot of creativity has gone into some of these worlds because people have been playing these worlds for years now, and they spend all that time building so many buildings and like towers. They'll build like a lighthouse, and they'll even like build castles, like whole on fortresses with like just cobblestone. And I get that nowadays, yeah, you can still do that, but with the new textures, obviously, it doesn't look as good using like the OG style of building. But, obviously the new textures, it does allow people to be a little more creative, right? And you can do a lot of things with these new blocks, in that, you know, it really allows you to be a little more creative now that you have a lot more resources, a lot more blocks, and especially with the texture change, you can make different kinds of builds now. Because I mean, look at this house that I made, right? The way this house has been built, right, was in the OG, textures, and back in the day, these OG textures allowed you to build stuff like this because people it looked good to make builds like this back in the day. But nowadays, with the new textures, it obviously wouldn't look good anymore. So obviously, there's different styles of building, depending on the textures and all that. And also another big factor as to why Minecraft is also very focused on just being creative, right, and just building and all that, is the fact that there's a whole mode outside of survival mode where you can just have all access to all the blocks in the game, and you can just build whatever you want. Like creative mode is mainly focused on building because understandably, like, you gotta understand, right? uh in survival, it is really hard to access a lot of blocks, right? And with that issue being a thing, well, their solution was to just make a whole mode based on just being able to access everything. And with that, people obviously choose creative mode because then they don't have to grind for these blocks. They don't have to worry about limited resources. And people will get to just be more creative that way, because then it's like, well, you have unlimited amount of blocks and now you can just build whatever you want. You don't have to worry about surviving. All you have to worry about is building. And that's really cool. But for a lot of us, like, we like to do things in survival because it feels a little more rewarding, the fact that we grinded and we did it all in survival. But of course, you know we won't judge the people that do just creative, because the people that do play on creative mode obviously, put in a lot more work into some of these builds and all that, and they do a lot of crazy work. you know there's some creative worlds that people made that are just absolutely insane, like mind-blowing, right, on how good some of their builds will be, because they have the time to just sit there and build, because they have obviously unlimited blocks. They never run out of blocks. They don't have to worry about surviving. It's also easier because you can just fly around, right? You don't have to worry about surviving, while building. Because I think another thing that makes it harder to do things in survival is the fact that if you're making like a massive build, right? It's like super tall. You also got to take into consideration that you got to make sure you survive, right? Like if you don't survive, obviously, well, you're gonna die and lose all your stuff. So, people don't want to deal with that, so they just play creative, which is completely fair because I feel like creative does take a lot of the stress off, of trying to survive. So, completely understandable. And obviously, a lot of people like to just, play creative because they just rather build than just worrying about survival. Because also another factor of how things are nowadays as to why people don't like the newer versions is just how annoying it is to play survival sometimes with having to deal with hunger, being just always depleting at all times and it just depletes too fast. And in Bedrock too, like if you eat, food and get your hunger bar full, you won't regenerate your health as fast as you do in Java. So like that's another reason why people don't like playing survival as much nowadays. And also even like in Java too, like the mobs like are a bit stronger than they are in the older versions. Like I'll say that because, bigger mob spawns, uh well, not as big as Bedrock, but like they also deal more damage, especially the Endermen. The Endermen are crazy in modern versions of the game, you know, pretty insane. So, obviously, I've been worrying about all that stuff, and the drowned and just spiders, creepers, just everything, right? Like, I understand why people don't want to play survival and just stick to creative because they want to just mainly build. But back in the day, right, in like the beta days, people didn't really like find surviving that hard because obviously back in the day, all you were doing was, well, you were building. You didn't have to worry about a hunger bar. Food was mainly used to heal your health. So if you got hurt, you would just have food, eat it, and boom, you're pretty much like healing up to full health. And also another cool thing is like back then, like you just clicked once and you ate the whole entire thing and you regenerated your health, right? You got health back. So it was pretty simple back then. So that's why people in survival were more, into like trying to build back in the day because obviously back then, surviving wasn't like as hard or as like annoying as it is now because now you got to worry about the hunger bars, you got to worry about phantoms, you got to worry about all the mobs, you got to make sure you have food, right? Well, back then, I mean, like in the beta versions of the game, you just kill some pigs and you were good to go, right? Which I mean, in even in this version that I'm playing, like 1.7.10, like Hunger Bar didn't deplete as fast as it does now, so like I don't really have to worry about food, and especially since I have like a farm, like, with some crops growing at all times, I don't even have to worry about food because I get so much food from that. I don't even have to go out and kill animals. Like if I do see them, yeah, I'll kill them. I'll cook the meat that they drop so that I can, have more food to eat that fills up my hunger bar faster than some of the crops, right? But like, like survival isn't as annoying in this version as it is in the modern version. Now that I have so much stuff, right? Because I have like, I have diamond sword, diamond pickaxe, which I'm trying to save on because I don't. It's almost like gone, so I want to save it, you know, for any special occasions because I don't have that many other diamonds left. So I'm just kind of, and I have like enchanted stuff, enchanted, well, chest plate, but like my armor will break eventually, right? And that's gonna suck, right? But like I have so much iron that I don't even have to worry about like crafting more armor. Look, I have like 4 stacks here, 2 stacks, 64 there, 2 stacks here, almost a full stack right here. Like it's insane. I think I have, oh, I have a helmet in here. You see, and I have nothing in there. All right, whatever. But like, you see what I'm saying? Like it was like surviving is not like as hard, back then as it is now. So people were more inclined to just, getting whatever they need to get to survive, which I mean, once you build a farm here, you know, get baked potatoes or you kill some animals for some steak or some pork chops, you're good to go for a while because your hunger bar doesn't deplete fast enough in this version of the game. Especially in beta, you don't even have to worry about hunger. You use food to heal yourself. So like it's so much nicer, right? And that's why people are more motivated to be more creative and actually build stuff, right? Because obviously building is a major part of the game and basically what the game is all about. And the fact that surviving was easier back then really like encouraged people to actually like want to build and do more. And like especially because back then like getting the Ender Dragon was so easy because like you could fight the Ender Dragon in iron armor. Like you could fight and beat the Ender Dragon without enchanting any items. Like it was so easy, right? But nowadays you gotta worry about, like getting potions and like diamond gear and all that nowadays, and like you gotta make sure everything's enchanted because the dragon is actually so much harder to fight now. And especially when it like breathes fire and all that, like it's just really annoying. But like back then, like you could just hop in, beat the Ender Dragon easily, and then you beat the game, right? And then after that, you're like, all right, anyways, I want to keep playing because that was a cool fight. But like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not like you had to beat the Ender Dragon back then either, because like back then the Elytras didn't exist. So like the Ender Dragon was completely optional, and there were many times I didn't even fight the Ender Dragon because it was like, well, what? I don't really see a point. Like the only reason I would ever want to go fight the dragon is if I want to enchant stuff, and I needed a lot of levels, so I would go and fight the Ender Dragon to enchant my stuff. But that's about it, really. Like the dragon wasn't really much of anything back in the day, and it was just like a cool little side thing to do. And like back then, I would like to build like my Xbox 360 world. Like I transferred it over to Xbox One so it would run better. But like I did a lot on that world. Like let me tell you guys, one day I'm gonna do a tour of that world. I'm gonna show you everything that I built. Like after I beat the Ender Dragon, I just kept building. I kept doing a lot of stuff because the game, it felt like I could do more, because I just like building. And I like doing a bunch of other stuff at the time. So I was just sitting there and I just kept doing stuff and I kept building and just doing whatever I wanted. And it felt nice because obviously, when I kept like expanding the world, like I ended up like building a bunch of crazy stuff. Like I mean, it wasn't like the best stuff ever, but like I built things. And that's just the whole point of the game. It didn't matter if whatever you built was good or not. Like you just did whatever you want. You built what you want. You got creative. And like also another thing that I even did that some other people even liked to do back in the day was also just create mini games in Minecraft. Like they would like get creative and make a mini game and just play, make games that you could play with your friends in the Minecraft world. I did that too. Like I would make stuff like that as well because I thought that was pretty cool. And that pretty much like when it comes to this kind of stuff, like being creative and making games and then just kind of focusing on the world has always been just something so amazing. What makes Minecraft so addicting. Now I don't know what it is, but nowadays it just since it's not as easy to do that now, I just find it a lot harder to just get into Minecraft's newer versions because it feels like there's just a lot more work that you need to put into to be able to even get to the point of just being able to build stuff. And that also just the bloat of like so many things in the game really kind of makes it a little more stressful, and just also like the new textures make it so that I have to make good builds. You know what I'm saying? Like, and just so many blocks, and just, I like playing these older versions because it's like, well, it was simple. You didn't have a lot of options. You just had whatever blocks you had, and you were just forced to pretty much get creative and use these blocks to build what you want to build. Like this cheeseburger right here that I made. Like, I had to get creative because I was like, well, the cheese, I don't really have any yellow blocks. So I was like, well, get the yellow flowers, mix it with with the wool, make yellow blocks for the cheese. And like for the patty, I just did the oak wood planks or logs, I mean. It looks pretty close to a burger patty. Buns, I just use, like oak wood planks. And like, I was like, well, I want some lettuce on the burger. I just used leaves from the tree. Like, I just got creative because I was like, well, there's no like bright green blocks that I could use. And obviously lettuce is like kind of like well, they're leaves, right? I was like, well, let's just get tree leaves and make the lettuce. Like you were just forced to like get a little creative. And I like it. I mean, it's not the best looking cheeseburger in the world in Minecraft, but like, hey, I made something with what I had. And like also, burgers are round, so it's like, kind of a little bit harder to make a burger. That burger would have to be a bit bigger if I wanted to make it look a bit rounder. But like, you know what I'm saying? Like that's the whole thing that makes Minecraft so addicting is just being creative, right? And just kind of collecting stuff to build stuff. Like, I remember how long it took me to make this whole library. Like, I remember I was like, oh yeah, I want to make this library. Had the enchantment table in here. And I was like, let's add a little passageway because I just thought it would be cool. You know, nothing special, right? But like, this looks like a library. You know, like a lot of books everywhere. You got the enchantment table. Like, it just looks nice. I don't know. At least I thought it looked nice. But you know what I'm saying? Like, it's so simple, but yet it looks so cool because obviously, you know, with the limited amount of blocks, I had to just get a little creative here and just kind of, you know, just build the house and just expand it and build how I want it. Like, it's just kind of crazy how much I've done here with this house. And like, I know they're all like the blocks are similar, but like, that's all I had. Like, those were my resources. Like, if you look around here, like around my world, like there wasn't really much more I could have used, you know? Like, you see, like I didn't have any like special blocks. I had just had to use what I had around here, which wasn't a lot of stuff. So, you know, I just had to pretty much figure something out and get a little creative. Like I said, like I have to pretty much figure things out on my own and be like, well, I don't have all these like so many blocks, you know, I don't have a lot of options, but I'm like, well, you know what? I'm just gonna use the blocks around here that I have and just kind of hope for the best, and it turned out to be good. So, you know, I'm proud of my build here. But yeah. Anyways, enough of the ranting. I'm sorry I kind of ranted a lot, but yeah, that's really what I wanted to talk about in this video is that Minecraft is all about creativity, and that's the whole point of the game. But anyways, yeah, that's gonna be the first video though, you guys. If you guys have made this far into the video, I hope all of you guys enjoyed, and thank you all for listening, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye, guys.